Hey everyone, Tom Venam here, and I'd like to welcome you to the first ever episode of the Tom Venam Podcast. On this first episode, I had the great pleasure of talking to a very interesting lady. She was very prominent in Hollywood in the 1960s and 70s, whether it was as a Bond girl, or in a western, a romantic film, or whatever it was. She was absolutely wonderful. She worked with Sean Connery in Diamonds Are Forever. She worked with John Wayne in The Searchers. She starred with Ryan O'Neal as a regular on Peyton Place. More recently, she played Vera Summers in an independent film called Dog Boy. More recently, she wrote a book called Little Sister about the death investigation of her sister Natalie Wood, which we'll get to later on in the interview. I really enjoyed doing this interview. I thought it was wonderful. So, without further ado, here's my interview of Lana Wood. Enjoy. And I'd like to introduce Lana Wood. Thank you for being on here, Lana.
Hey, my pleasure.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. We're having a cold snap here, which is unusual, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. That's so... What's that in Los Angeles? Is it snowing or what's the weather like over there?
I wish. No, it's in the 40s and the 30s at night, and
Okay.
it's been in the higher 50s during the day. So it's just chilly enough. It's nice sweater weather.
Hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that would...
I just want to tell you, I love and miss Australia.
You love Australia?
Love it.
Yeah. And have you... Well, I guess the first question I'll ask is, have you visited?
Well, that's why I love it.
You have? Tell me about that.
I shot an entire film there in Sydney.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, it absolutely adored. I remember calling my daughter and saying, if I could move all of you over here, we'd be living in Australia. As
Wow.
I really had a fabulous, fabulous time. I was only there for about 6 weeks, but it was wonderful.
What picture were you filming at the time?
I was making a film on Natalie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, was this
it
a
was.
documentary or what was going on there?
No, it was not. It was a docudrama,
Mm-hmm.
and it was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who I'm sure you know that name.
Uh,
And it was for television.
yeah, was this the mystery of Natalie Wood?
Yes, it is.
I didn't know it was... It had... I didn't know it was... Was it produced in Australia or what was going on
It
there?
was filmed in Australia.
Oh,
Yes.
wow, I didn't know that. I thought it must have been filmed over in the US.
Nope, nope,
Wow,
nope.
that's quite a surprise.
We dragged everybody that was above the line budget wise and shot there, and it was absolutely terrific. I mean, we couldn't ask for better studio, better accommodations, better crew. The people were all really fantastic, very thoughtful, very caring, very professional, and good at what they do. So yeah, but I loved walking around through Sydney when I wasn't on the set. Um, and going into bookstores and how really lovely everybody was.
Oh,
Very
I see.
friendly, very relaxed. It was great.
And did you ever get recognized in Australia?
No, no, not really. I
Oh.
had my hair all cut off and I was wearing my producer's suit. So,
Hmm.
yeah, no, I did not.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd recognize you. Yeah.
um,
It's-
Probably so.
yeah, but Sydney's nice. But I want to ask you about the city you're from, LA. Well, you were growing up there in the 50s and early 60s. Um,
I was born here.
you were
Yeah.
born there, yeah. So,
Yep.
what was that like? Being a
Um,
kid then?
What was it like?
Yeah.
Wow, I that's very hard to say because I think everybody's childhood, growing up anywhere, how you grew up is your norm. I
Hmm.
mean, I thought it was completely normal. I was mostly on the sets because Natalie was always working and my mother didn't believe in babysitters or anybody to take care of me. So I was dragged along. I went a lot to studio school, missed a lot of regular, elementary public school, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah, and I guess well, your sister Natalie was very involved in um in cinema, and I guess were there any films at the time that whether they starred Natalie or not that you really enjoyed?
Um, I used to sit up very late in my room at night and watch old black and white Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers films.
Oh,
That's
wonderful.
what I absolutely adored. And the Bowery Boys. I don't even, those things were all made before my time, but that's what they used to show late night
Hmm.
on TV. So that's what I would adore watching.
Yeah, well,
Great fun.
yeah, well, that was great music at the time as well. Great dancing.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so you mentioned that, and that's music. Those are musical films, but so I guess were you into music at the time?
Oh, always,
Mm-hmm.
always. Yeah, I've always been. Music has really, shaped my life and my feelings, and I'm I'm very I'm very respectful of people who are creative, who make films and music and write books and sculpt, and I just think we couldn't live without it. We
Mm.
really couldn't.
Yeah. Well, you're right there, and I wonder what your parents what kind of music they listened to because they were Russian immigrants.
Well, my dad listened to old Russian music, Russian folk music. That was it.
And your mother?
Oh, the same. She didn't. My mother was full time caring for Natalie and making sure that she was getting her roles and dealing with agents, and we were traveling a bit. So my mom didn't. We didn't have that sort of family.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense from what I know about your mother. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that I believe that the first film that you worked on was The Searchers with John Wayne.
Yes. Yes. That's right.
Yeah. So I guess John Wayne was quite an interesting character. So what was your first experiences with him?
Well, I first met him in the producer's office because my mom had to bring me in to meet with them, and he was very nice. They were really not that concerned about my abilities. They were concerned about my look and if he could pick me up because he had a bad back, and it was written into the script that he was to lift me up, and it was something that would play throughout the film and be repeated at the end. So it was very important. And he lifted me up and he said, "Yep, she'll be fine." And that was it. I went to work on the Searchers.
Yep. Audition passed.
Yep.
Yeah, and so with The Searchers, did you end up going to the premiere of that? And if so, what was that like?
Um, I don't recall going to the premiere. No, I
Oh,
didn't. I think I was probably a bit too young back then.
but Natalie presumably went to the premiere.
I would imagine so, but there
Yeah.
again, I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah. And fast forwarding a few years later, you were on the TV show Peyton Place. How'd you get on that?
How did I get on that? I went to a an interview.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on a scene in front of the camera. I did an audition, and they were happy with me. I had also, it was it was a film. It was a TV show being shot at Fox Studios, and I was under contract to Fox for 7 years. They had signed me for contract and put me in a series called The Long Hot Summer, which was based on the film with Paul Newman and Lee Remick.
Uh-huh.
So I was on that series first. And when that series folded, they found that they had me under contract and went, okay, where can we put this person? Because we've got to pay her no matter what. So I auditioned for Peyton Place, and that was it. Went to work on that for quite a long time. Had a wonderful time
Yes.
doing that because I was very young and everybody there was, and we were all silly, and it was terrific. Very different than working now.
Yeah. And you were on quite a few episodes of that. I believe 80
I was
episodes.
a regular, yeah. I was a
Yeah.
regular.
And you played Sandy.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting. And then fast forwarding a few years after that, you got probably your the role that you're best recognized for was in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever as Plenty O'Toole. So
Yes.
how did you end up? Did you like watching the Bond films before you got the role?
I did. I had
Hmm.
seen From Russia with Love, but I was an Ian Fleming fan. I read everything, and I read all of his books, but I was constantly with a book in hand, no matter what. So I was a very devoted reader. So I was delighted. Yeah, I got a call saying, would I be interested in having this meeting with Guy Hamilton and Cubby Broccoli and the writer Tom Mankiewicz? And I said, absolutely yes. And Tom called me and he said, could you please look tall? I said, oh, that's cute. I'm 5'2", so yeah, I can handle that easily. But so I actually went shopping for an outfit, and I was very excited. Went to the meeting. We just sat in the office and chatted about various things, and that was it. Uh, I got a phone call from my agent later on, and they said that they absolutely love me. That Cubby and Guy were really, really crazy about me. Um, but they had run into a problem and couldn't give me Tiffany Case. That they had a problem with that role. But would I consider playing Plenty O'Toole? And I said, absolutely, I would. I said, I'll play a hat rack. I'd be that happy just to be a part of that film. So that's how I ended up being Plenty.
Yeah. And when you were filming Diamonds Are Forever with Sean Connery and everyone, when you were filming, how many minutes of film do you reckon you got through a day?
A day?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I would have no idea.
Mm.
Um, you know, I could probably give you a page count, but not a minute count.
Yeah.
Um, us actors have no idea about minutes.
Yeah.
It's stop and go with a film. It depends on what's going on in those scenes, where they have to move to, if there are wardrobe changes. There are lots of things to be considered. So I was in Las Vegas for a couple of weeks or so, and then I was told that I would have 3 days off, and I said great. And they asked me if I would like to go home, and I said I certainly would. So I flew home for a couple of days and then came back to work when they needed me. Did a lot of shopping there. I'm not a gambler. I'm not a drinker. So there wasn't really anything much for me to do except shop when I wasn't working,
Mm.
or go hang out on the set.
Yeah.
So
And
it was nice.
did you end up becoming friends with Sean Connery while filming that?
I was friends with Sean. I knew him before we
Oh.
started working on the show. I actually was invited to his house in where was it? I think he was in Putney. Um, when he was married to Diane, and I went there with my boyfriend at the time, who was Jerome Hellman, who's a a director. So we had dinner with them. We had a great time. Spent a long evening talking and just hanging out, and so I knew him from then. I didn't see him again on that trip to the UK, but when I was going to arrive on the set the first day, I felt good that I would have one friend there, and it wouldn't be a sea of faces that I've never seen before. So I felt very comfortable about that. And I brought my cats with me. I had two cats at the time, and I had gotten my finger stuck in one of those metal holes for that they have for the cat carriers.
Oh.
They didn't have really fancy ones back then. And yeah, on the plane, because one of them started crying, and I got worried, and I put my finger in there, and I was trying to rub him on the head or do something, and my finger got stuck. So I came into the lobby of the hotel with my finger stuck in a cat carrier, and I was at the desk, and they said they were really sorry, but they didn't have my accommodations ready yet. And Sean was walking through just at that time, and his hearing must be excellent because he yelled across the room. He said, "Just put her in my suite because I'm going on the set and I'll be there all day until you can get her situated." And I said, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And that was my introduction to Diamonds Are Forever.
Wow. So
And they got my finger out of the cat cage with butter.
good. Wow. So yeah, very kind of Sean to offer you his suite. So yeah, that's quite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and from what I've heard of him, most of the people who worked with him said that he was wonderful, and I think he was a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
He's greatly
Oh no,
missed
it's
now.
quite lovely. Yeah. I adored him. I absolutely adored him.
Yeah. And did you ever meet any of the other Bond actors?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh yeah. Who did you meet?
Wyndon Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did I meet? Sammy Davis Jr., who was a friend of mine, was cut out, but he was on the set doing his one scene. And who else was there? Well, obviously Jill.
Yeah.
That was about it. That was about it for me.
Interestingly, the country singer Jimmy Dean was in Diamonds Are Forever. Did you ever meet him?
No, I didn't. We weren't in any of the same
Yeah.
scenes.
Oh, I see. And yeah, that would have been quite interesting to meet him if you did. But yeah, it was a great film. Like any Bond film, it was wonderful. And I guess one of the questions I had was, when did you first get to watch the film? Was it at the premiere or was it?
No, they sent me on tour, literally around the world. I started out in Tokyo and went everywhere. So I didn't see the film until I got back home, which was quite some time. And I went to the Grauman's Chinese Theater and brought a friend along and was really looking forward to seeing all this. And I bought popcorn and some candy, and we settled in and started watching it. And I bent over to pick up my popcorn and straightened up and went, "I'm dead?" Like, wait a minute, what happened to all the scenes in between that? So I was a little shocked and really upset. And after the film ended and I went home, I did call Tom Mankiewicz and Guy Hamilton and said, what the hell happened? And they said that it was a matter of time, that in editing, they felt that the character didn't do anything to move the plot along. And they wanted to have that extra screening time in the theaters if it wasn't that length. So they had to do a lot of cutting. And unfortunately, most of my part ended up on the cutting room floor. But I was there visiting Sammy Davis Jr., who was also on the cutting room floor. So I guess it was
Did
good
he
company.
Oh no, he didn't make it in the film. That's quite
He
surprising.
didn't. No, they cut him out completely.
Wow. You'd think.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd keep him, but I don't know. That's a shame they didn't really give you any notice until
Well, they
after the.
don't have to. They're
Yeah,
they're not supposed to. I mean, it's it's their film, it's their editor, it's
yeah.
their director. They've got to to watch out for the film, and they don't. They're not obligated to call any of the actors or anything.
Mm.
Um, I called because I was friends with Tom Mankiewicz at the time, and he had actually come to Las Vegas for a couple of days, and so yeah, I was really upset,
Mm. Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And when you were filming that film or any film, did you ever have any funny moments on set or just light-hearted moments with the other actors?
Not really, not really. When when you're filming, you don't we didn't I certainly didn't have the time. It wasn't
Mm.
that type of set. Um on a television series with a lot of people your age and that kind of thing, it's a great deal more lighthearted, and you do have room and time to be ridiculous
Mm.
and play jokes on people. But no, there wasn't anything like that. I actually, I Sean was having a bad time when we were filming. There was something going on with him personally, and he didn't tell me what,
Oh.
but he said he was just having some issues that he had to deal with, and he was very intent upon making it out to the golf course every day. So we had
Mm.
to make sure and wrap with him at least while the sun was out so that he could go and play some golf and feel better.
Oh, okay. And I guess well, speaking of being on set, earlier on in your career, did you ever get nervous on set, like when you were filming The Searchers or any of those early roles?
No, I didn't realize until later that I was very nervous doing diamonds.
Oh,
But
okay.
the other sets, no. No,
Mm.
not at all. Don't forget, I didn't go from the Searchers to, suddenly being under contract and being put in a series.
Mm.
I did live television. I did theater. I was Jack Lemmon was my dad. Walter Matthau was my dad. Charlton Heston played my dad. I was all over the place. I was doing Hallmark Hall of Fame. I was doing yeah, a lot of live television at the time. I worked with John Cassavetes and Dana Winter. So I was very comfortable in what it is I did.
Hmm. Yeah, I see. And what's it like, um, going onto a set? Like,
Um, there's there's some excitement because you don't know who you're going to be working with, what personalities will be like, and what the feeling on the set is. There were obviously some sets that felt friendlier than others, a little more lighthearted. But you go in and it's exciting because you're starting something new,
mm,
and I think that's what is so interesting about acting as well, is that you don't play the same person all the time. You're playing different people, and it's great.
mm, yeah, I see. Yeah, because you know, I guess I've never been on a set, so that's really interesting to.
Really? Oh my goodness.
No, I
Yeah, it's
haven't.
quite busy. It's always dark, and there are lots of cables everywhere. You got to watch where you step.
Yeah.
And if you hear that bell and we're rolling, you better shut up and stand in one spot,
Mm-hmm.
and you do not move until you get the double bell all clear uh,
Hmm.
for the sound. So yeah, no, they're intense, and it's lovely. I mean, I grew up on sets. That's all I've ever known.
Yeah.
It's all Natalie ever knew. It's all I ever knew.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Natalie on set, I mean, her biggest film was West Side Story. So when that film won 10 Oscars in 1961, that must have been those must have been exciting times for the whole family. So Did you ever feel in awe of your sister?
No, no. We didn't watch the awards. Only only Natalie went.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't really aware. I had been on the set many times with her while she was filming, but she was having problems with the dance routines. She was having problems with the songs. There were different things going on that were upsetting her. And, well, I don't know. It just, it was just when it's an everyday thing. It's like if you work at the corner market. You go to the market.
Mm.
You go all the time, and sometimes you got days off, and sometimes you don't. So it was all very natural. Nobody was overly excited or unhappy or terribly happy. It was like, well, that's good. Next film kind of thing. I didn't actually see the film until later, and it was a special screening, and I went with my mom and dad. We all went, and I remember watching it and walking out of the theater, walking up the steps to leave, and being absolutely in tears. And it also dawned on me at that point. I said, "Okay, I get it. I understand why Natalie is who Natalie is. She was just fantastic in it.
Yeah, she was.
I was thrilled and so happy for her. Very proud. I felt very proud and very happy for her, as I always looked up to her.
Yeah, and yeah, she was a wonderful woman, and you've got, well, her being your sister. I mean that's amazing. That's really quite incredible.
Well, they had to be somebody's sister, so
Well,
they
yeah,
gave
I
me
guess
her.
so. And and if I could go to a more serious note, a few years ago, in 2021, you wrote the book Little Sister. So I just wanted to know what led you to write it.
Um, I had begun when the case was reopened,
Mm-hmm.
and they changed it from drowning to unknown causes, and everything started to sort of rumble and rise, and suddenly I was getting calls from different people. I was visited by the homicide department, the two detectives that were on the case. They came to my home to talk to me and spent hours there, and would come quite often. I started talking with Harbor Patrol. I started speaking with Dennis Davern, who was the captain on Splendor, and everything just sort of started rolling forward from there. And every time something else would come up, and the detectives would call me and say, we spoke with the woman who was the maid who let Natalie in when she was running away from RJ with the red stains all over the front of her. They lived next door when she was living on Cannon. And it's like all these things kept coming up. Not conjecture, not I think, not I feel, not I heard that, but real things.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt in the detective's mind, in my mind, or any of the people. I spoke with the new coroner. Everybody. Um, and it was quite obvious that she was killed,
Mm.
or he let her die. However nicely you want to put it, it's difficult to put it in a nice manner. I think something that nobody understands, and I keep trying desperately to get people to understand. I didn't want to think that RJ did that. That's horrific.
Mm.
That's nightmarish. That it's the ugliest thing. I wanted to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to feel that it was somehow some kind of an accident. Every time he came up with a story, it was a ludicrous story. She went in her nightgown with no undergarments and big floppy wool socks on the boat to a party? Is he out of his mind? I mean, what idiocy to even say that.
Yeah.
Just various things like that where I went, who the hell are you talking to? And also the first call logged on the ship to shore that he made off the Splendor was not to Harbor Patrol, was not to Baywatch. It was to his attorney, which I find very
Gosh.
odd. And the fact that he would not allow Dennis to turn on any searchlights or any lights or to contact anyone. He said it would just make things worse. It would, everybody will flock here. It will ruin my reputation. I'm like, what the hell? When my cat got lost, I spent a day and a half wandering and looking for my cat. This is my sister. This is his wife. And he wouldn't turn on searchlights. He didn't contact anyone. I'm just aghast. And everything that the coroner said, everything that the detectives came up with were just facts because they don't deal with conjecture. The sheriff's department is not interested in conjecture. So they wanted desperately, they went to the district attorney to bring him in, and she wouldn't approve it. And then it was found out later that the district attorney was best friends with RJ's attorney.
Oh.
So, it's all, the rich and the powerful do get away with shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, but they do.
No, you can say that. Yeah. That's well that's shocking, and that's really disgusting how if you've got enough money you can get away with stuff like that.
And power, the right people and you are wealthy. Write your own ticket. It's been done before and it'll be done until the end of time. That's the way things always have been.
Yep.
But
So
it
you
makes me
reckon
quite angry.
You reckon
I'm sorry?
the original case was botched, like either deliberately or?
Oh, it was ludicrous.
Yeah.
They spoke to him because the detectives have to log in when they started speaking to a witness and when they finish speaking. They literally spoke with RJ for, it was something ridiculous, like 6 minutes. And they never separated Dennis and RJ. And they were flown together to San Diego to be spoken with. And there again, never separated, never. And that's why, oddly, everybody had the exact same thing to say, exactly to the letter. And Dennis knew he was lying. And it wasn't until Dennis called me on the phone out of the clear blue sky. I mean, I had not been speaking with Dennis as years passed, nothing. Called me and said that he had been lying and that it was killing him, that it was eating at him, and that he couldn't live like this anymore. And he wanted to tell the truth. And he was scared because he said he could be charged as well since he did that. And I had a friend at the FBI, and I said, here's his name, here's his number, call him, and he wouldn't do it. He was scared. So, that was problematic, but that's really what sort of started everything going, is when Dennis decided he had to say something. And his story was, quite unnerving as well. Everything that RJ did, according to Dennis.
How did you react when Dennis told you that he'd been lying?
I didn't know how I felt. I didn't know how to react. I really didn't. Shock, I guess, was most of it. I was just in shock. And the time had come for me to stop just accepting and, really start delving into all of this.
So that's how. I guess that's how. Well, that makes complete sense why you'd want to fight for
Well,
justice for your
it's
sister.
funny, and RJ always blames me. I didn't do any of the investigation. That was the sheriff's department, homicide department, you know?
Mm.
I mean, it's just so ridiculous. But, you know, if you can point the finger at someone else as causing a problem, then it sort of takes away focus from you. So he was busy pointing fingers and, you know, yelling different things. Um, he tried very hard to damage me. I mean, he had me blacklisted. I couldn't get work
Mm.
for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Quite a long time.
Yeah. So that
So
must have
yeah, it
been
was a
awful.
nightmarish,
Yeah,
all of it.
that's really awful. But I guess when you wrote that book, in any sense did it give you a sense of comfort knowing that
No,
no.
no,
Mm. Yeah, that yeah. What
no
did you?
comfort, no comfort, no closure. I don't believe in closure. Does something doesn't go away because you know how it happened? That doesn't make it go away. It
No, it
still
doesn't.
happened.
It still
You
happened. Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah. It's yeah. Well, once someone's gone, that's
Yeah, they don't come back.
no, they don't. And just because someone's like, if even if he was charged, it doesn't mean that it doesn't even come close to really giving justice when someone's gone.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. No, you know, I finally got to the point where
Yeah.
I just didn't care what the hell happened to him anymore.
Mm.
Live your life, live your lies, enjoy
Mm.
yourself. Life's short, whatever.
Mm. Well,
You know.
you know, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you had to deal with that in your life because that's been a really major
Yeah,
tragedy.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I guess recently though, there have been some has been some good news for you is that you've been back in films again. Last year you were in a film called Dog Boy. So if you don't
Yeah,
mind,
I started working about 7 years ago. I'm really bad with time.
mm.
Um, for independent filmmakers because they don't
Yeah.
care. They don't care what Robert Wagner has to say. It's like, who? Robert who? Um, and so I started, the first thing I did coming back was a Christian film called The Book of Ruth. And The Book of Ruth became the number one best selling DVD on the Christian market for years. I mean, it just went on and on and on. I was delighted. Um, and then those people that I had worked for on that, one of the producers went off to start to do something else, and he asked me to do that. And the director and the owner of the production company um, had me doing different things for him. I did like, oh my goodness, about 6 other films
Yeah.
for and with DJ Perry. And yeah, they're all independent films, but great fun.
Mm.
I got to play um, a really truly horrible person, Old West. Wonderful movie, absolutely wonderful movie. Um, but I was, you know, they dirtied up my face and we grayed my hair, and I was in sloppy old baggy clothes and robbing banks with my 2 sons, and you know, stuff like that. It was
Mm.
really terrific. It was
Mm.
really terrific.
Have you
So
have you preferred filming independent films to being in uh like big
um,
productions?
I can't really say. There's a different vibe, obviously, but independent films, of course, are not as comfy. You know, I remember my daughter getting really angry with me that she hadn't heard from me when I started filming Book of Ruth. It had been days before she heard anything. And she said, well, why haven't you called me? And I said, I'm working all day. And she said, well, call me when you go to your dressing room. I said, dressing room? I don't have a dressing room. They've got porta potties out here. So, you do deal with that type of thing. But, yeah, dressing room, that was hysterical.
Mm.
I'm very grateful to them and delighted that they thought of me as often as they did. And I had a wonderful time playing lots of different characters
Yeah.
for, not that varied a group of filmmakers in Virginia, um, Utah. Where else was I? Maryland. Um, I was back east in New Jersey, just all over the place.
Mm.
Anyway, you don't need a list of all the places.
Oh, no, it's all right.
But it was great. It was really fun. I look forward to
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, and are you still gonna make more movies?
I don't think so. I don't think so, unless my DJ Perry comes up with something.
Mm.
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think I'm kind of done.
Mm.
The book sort of did me in too. It's like, whoa, that was tough. I would have to stop writing during the day and just say, closing it up, stopping the tape machine, stopping, you know,
Yeah.
the computer, shutting it all down, because it was just too upsetting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that, And now that you've said you're probably not gonna um make any films, today, what keeps you going? What inspires you now?
My grandchildren.
Grandchildren?
I've been taking care of them since the day they were born, but my daughter, she always stayed with me, even though she got married. We all stayed together as a family.
Yeah.
And so she passed away unexpectedly and rather suddenly
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear
in
that.
our kitchen in front of everybody. So that's been very, very traumatic and difficult for them.
Mm.
And they're still getting over it. That was only 4.5 years ago, and they're still having a lot of trouble getting over that.
Yeah, I'm really,
So
that's,
we've stayed together,
yeah.
and I'm kind of doing the best we can. And
Mm.
my interest in any kind of fostering animals, doing work for sending my last dollar. I'll send it to the World Wildlife Fund.
Mm.
You know, anything ASPCA,
Mm.
um, and reading. I'm still a member of the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences, so I vote every year for the Oscars. I watch all the films, and I've got 4 dogs and 2 cats and 3 grandchildren, and we're all together, so it's okay.
Well, that's nice, and so you like animals, obviously. So
Love
yeah,
them more than I can describe.
yeah. So how many pets do you reckon you've had over the years?
Oh, good God. I couldn't even begin. I couldn't even begin. Quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, so are you a dog person or a cat person or both?
Both,
Both?
both.
Yeah.
Dogs, cats, horses, everything.
Anything. Yeah. Yeah, I love animals as well. I don't know. They give you a sense of comfort and unconditional love that you don't usually get from humans.
Well, they're just more honest
Yeah.
than we are able to be because we are, so ingrained with other feelings, and we can't really lead simple lives.
Hmm.
They
No.
they do. They eat, they sleep, they play, and they love us,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
They
that's
don't cheat, lie, or steal.
yeah. Hmm. And so yeah, I guess we've we've talked quite a bit about your career and your life and your life today and all sorts of stuff. And was there anything you wanted to say to the audience before we wrap it up for the day?
No, just enjoy each day.
Yeah.
Every minute of every day.
Well, that's a great philosophy to live by.
You got to do it.
Thank you very much, Lana, for coming and having this conversation with me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, no problem. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, thank you. Take care and tell Australia I love every grain of sand.
I definitely will. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So everyone, I hope you enjoyed that episode very much. Hopefully we should have some more guests coming on the show pretty soon. If you did enjoy the episode, then make sure to check out the Facebook page just by going to tomvenam.com, or go to the Instagram at instagram.com/tomvenammusic, and all the links will also be in the description. Have a good one and take care.